Welcome to Patriots Corner Live with Dr. Hill Law, your source for unfiltered conservative analysis. We're here to dissect this week's biggest stories in politics and the economy, all from a grounded conservative perspective. No spin, just straight talk about what it matters to you. We'll delve into the issues shaping our nation, hold our leaders accountable, and discuss and debate solutions that uphold our core American values. If you're new here, please hit that like button, subscribe, and the ring notification bell so you don't miss any future streams. And then, what if I told you the best way to help the poor was to give a tax cut to the rich? It sounds crazy, doesn't it? It sounds like the exact opposite of everything we're told. But what if that shocking idea holds the key to unlocking a wave of prosperity so powerful it could lift millions out of poverty? You can catch Patriots Corner Live 3 evenings a week on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, and Facebook. If you can't catch it live, you can listen to all the episodes on Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio approximately an hour after they are live. Or you can catch them on our website at Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. That is Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. Your engagement is crucial to the success of Patriots Corner. If you have a question or you want to make a statement, please do so. I will review them at the end of each segment, read a few live, and answer any questions from respectful comments that foster intellectual debate. Your feedback is invaluable in shaping the discussion. Also, don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe to keep the conversation going. Alrighty, I'm going to pause it for just 1 second. Make sure I've got all of my stream managers open so I can see that. Make sure I'm getting all my comments. Make sure I'm seeing all of my comments here. Alrighty, so looks like, okay, so everything's there. All right, good. Got all of my live chat, multi-stream. All right, got everything ready to go. All right, let me grab a drink and then we'll get started with my intro. Alrighty. What if everything you have been told about fighting poverty is a lie? What if the endless circular debates we have about soaking the rich to pay for social programs are like arguing over the best way to steer a car that has no engine? We're missing the point entirely. You know the drill. It's a battle that dominates our headlines and poisons our politics. On one side, you have the class warriors demanding the wealthy pay their fair share. On the other, you have people warning that sky-high taxes will kill the economy. And we're all stuck in the middle, forced to choose between what they tell us is fairness and what we know creates growth. It feels like choosing between your heart and your head. All right. But what if that's a false choice? What if there's a third way, a secret hiding in plain sight? Sorry about that. What if the single most powerful tool for lifting people out of poverty wasn't to tax the rich more, but to tax them and everyone else smarter? I know it sounds counterintuitive. It goes against everything the talking heads on TV preach, but what if the key to unlocking real opportunity for the poorest among us is a tax system so simple and so fair that it makes lobbyists in the Washington establishment break out into a cold sweat? What if the secret is a single flat rate for everybody? Stay with me. For the next 45 minutes, we're going to do a deep dive. We're about to unravel the powerful common sense case for the flat tax, a system that many economists believe could unleash a wave of prosperity, create millions of jobs, and do more to help the poor than our current monstrously complicated system ever could. All right, let's get it on. Start segment 1, the tax monster and the hidden trap. Before we can talk about a cure, we have to diagnose the disease. And the disease is that the American tax code isn't just a set of rules. It is a monster. It is not a creature of nature. It is a man-made beast born in Washington, D.C. lab over a century ago. Every year, its political masters stitch on a new limb, a new loophole, a new clause until it has grown into an incomprehensible behemoth. They say the Internal Revenue Code itself is a few thousand pages long, but that's a joke. When you add the tens of thousands of pages of rules and regulations in case law, you get a stack of paper so high no single human being on the planet understands it. Not the heads at the IRS, Not the most expensive tax attorney in New York. No one. It is like a rule book for a game that has become so complicated, not even the referees can understand it. This complexity isn't just an inconvenience, it is a cancer on our economy. We waste billions of hours and hundreds of billions of dollars every year just trying to follow our own rules. An entire industry of accountants and lawyers exists for one reason: to navigate this jungle that politicians created. Think about it. We have built a system so broken that we have to pay a massive army of guides just to lead us through it. While business will always need some help with taxes, the sheer size of this industry is proof of a system that has failed its most basic job to be understandable to the people it governs. Now, this system started with good intentions. The idea of a progressive tax where you pay a higher percentage as you can earn more is rooted in a sense of fairness. It's based on the simple concept of ability to pay, but somewhere down the line, Washington ruined it. The noble idea of progressivity became an excuse for endless political favors. Every year, politicians, probed by armies of lobbyists, carve out new loopholes, deductions, credits, and exemptions. A tax break for this pet industry, a special credit for the politically favored activity. The result is a system that looks like a block of Swiss cheese, a system that is the exact opposite of fair. The tax rate you actually pay has almost nothing to do with your official tax bracket. Instead, it depends on how many loopholes in the cheese you can find and afford to jump through. And who can afford the map to those holes? The very wealthy, billionaires, and massive corporations employ teams of the world's best accountants to work the maze they paid lobbyists to create in the first place. This used perfectly legal strategies to slash their tax bills, which I've said this in previous episodes I've done when I'm talking about debt and when I'm talking about the budget or the budget bill that just passed, is that these so-called tax raises or tax cuts, they always, the majority of the time, especially if you raise taxes, the loopholes to get out of those taxes only benefit the billionaires and the trillionaires. It hurts the lower income to the middle income the worst. It doesn't hurt the super rich. They don't end up paying more. They pay the same. It's the person who's owns 2 McDonald's down the street or has a restaurant or a small store. They're the ones that get destroyed on these tax bills. We've all seen the reports of billionaires paying a lower effective tax rate than their own assistants, or sometimes paying nothing at all. They don't do it by breaking the law. They do it by using the law as it's written. Meanwhile, the average family, the small business owner trying to make payroll, the entrepreneur with a great idea, they're left to face this nightmare alone. They don't have an army of accountants to cover it for them. They just have the gut-wrenching fear of a mistake, an audit, and a system that feels totally and completely rigged against them. The complexity has become the ultimate loophole for the rich and a crushing weight on everyone else. I mean, how can you, if you don't know what loopholes are there or how to get them, and you don't want the fear of the IRS coming after you and taking all your money, are you going to take those loopholes or not? I mean, this brings us to the hidden trap. The uncomfortable truth is that this so-called fair system might be one of the biggest things holding the poor back because it's too monstrous. How it comes down to one simple word: incentives. Imagine the entire economy is a giant car, and our collective goal is to drive it forward so everyone's lives improve. Investment is the fuel for that car. A tax on that investment is like a toll on the highway. If the toll is small and reasonable, people pay it and keep driving. But our current system has set up incredibly high tolls, especially for the most productive and job-creating journeys, which keeps a lot of people from taking them. Think like an entrepreneur. You have money. You could risk to start a new company or expand a factory. This risk-taking is the absolute lifeblood of our economy. It's the engine that creates jobs, which in turn forces wages to go up as companies compete for workers. But it is incredibly risky. Most new businesses fail. Now imagine looking at that risky venture. If it fails, you lose it all. If it succeeds, the government swoops in with high corporate taxes, capital gains taxes, and personal income tax rates. The tax code essentially tells the innovator, heads, you lose, tails, we win. It's like telling a race car driver that if they win, you're going to take half of their prize money, but if they crash, that's their problem. What does that do? It makes them drive slower. It makes the safe, unproductive choice look a lot smarter than the risky, productive one. This creates an even worse incentive, the incentive to focus on tax avoidance instead of creating value. When the toll of the economic highway gets too high, smart people don't try to drive farther, they try to find a detour to avoid the toll booth. Think about the sheer brain power we waste on this. Instead of designing better products, brilliant minds are designing better tax shelters. Our tax code encourages the rich to play defense with their money, hiding it from the tax man, instead of going on offense to create new wealth for everybody. All right. And this isn't just an abstract concept. It means fewer businesses get started, fewer jobs are created, there's less competition for workers, so wages stay flat. The very growth we need to lift people out of poverty is being choked off. It's not helping us at all. You don't solve poverty by fighting over a shrinking economic pie. The only real solution is to bake a much, much bigger pie. One quest for fairness through punitive tax rates has created a system that traps the poor by throttling the engine of their own prosperity. As we come to the end of our first segment, I would like to remind you to please like, comment, follow, or hit the subscribe button so you won't miss future episodes. Also, I will now take any questions, reply to a few comments before starting the next segment. Please don't forget to check out our website at patriotscorner.drhill.com. That is patriotscorner.drhill.com. You can also sign up for free access to our weekly blog, receive notifications about our new next live show, and hit the subscribe button, which takes you to our locals community. There you can support the show, gain access to extra content, and participate in one-on-one discussions. All right, before I get started on segment two, I wanted to take a drink, see if I can get some more people in here. It looks like I got one person in locals, at least one person on in my Rumble. And I just want to mention something about the natural disaster that happened down here in Texas. Everybody's trying to compare what happened here in Texas to what happened in Illinois, Missouri, Louisiana, or these other states. Okay, you can't compare that, right? It's not like it's been raining for weeks on end or days on end, and this flood just slowly happened and it was something you can predict. That's not what happens in the Texas Hill Country. The Texas Hill Country is the flash flood alley, all right? It literally went from a calm little creek. There's plenty of videos showing this in river that there was nothing in, maybe 50 to 100 foot wide at the most, maybe 10 feet deep of water. And then less than 45 minutes later, it was 30 some odd feet deep, hundreds, if not 1,000 foot wide, and overtaking roads and bridges and everything like that. It's not like this is something that just you could be warned years and stuff ahead of time. Two, the last time a flood came even close to this down in the Guadalupe, it was a whole lot more rain over a longer period of time. And then if you really want to go to last time that it was at its highest rate, which was 39 feet, that was back in the 1930s, and it was 36 inches. It was like 32, 33 inches over 36-hour time period. This was 6 to 12 inches over about an 8-hour time period, 9-hour time period. So nobody could have expected it to go that high. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of development. You have what's called impervious cover, meaning roads, homes, foundations for buildings and stuff that doesn't allow as much water to soak in. So more of it stays above ground because you don't have as much percolation. But still, nobody could have guessed that. It has nothing to do with President Trump or any political ideology or anything politically, that it was a natural disaster, an act of God, and nobody could have predicted it. We don't need to draw it into some political thing and use it as a policy. I mean, the people's bodies aren't even all the people's bodies haven't even been found yet. If you're going to do a political attacks on it, wait till after the fact. Let all the families' loved ones be found. Let these families put their loved ones to rest. Then you can talk about what could have been done or what should have been done, if anything. But the fact is that as soon as it happened, Texas Game Warden, Coast Guard, Texas National Guard, all of that was activated. People were down there. People were going down there. There were people down there helping with the recovery and the cleanup. So it wasn't a failure. This wasn't like a slow flood that you could predict like you have up in Illinois or Indiana or Mississippi that, it's been raining a lot up in Illinois and Indiana, so the river's going to slowly start picking up and coming up over its banks, and now it's raining down in Mississippi, so then you've got the northern rains plus the southern. It's not something slow like that. It wasn't a long drawn out process. It was a very quick short time process. So now I'm going to go ahead and get on to segment 2 now that I'm done with that little rant, because it was just irking me that people were sitting there and blaming that they were trying to sit there and blame the president or something for this when it has nothing to do with that. All right, segment 2, the second pillar, the postcard solution, a radical idea. So if our current system is a bureaucratic monster that hurts the very people it claims to help, what's the answer? This is where we get to the billionaire's secret, except it's not really a secret and it wasn't invented by billionaires. All right. It came out of the halls of academia from two economists at Stanford's Hoover Institute, Robert Hall and Alvin Rabushka, back in the 1980s. Their idea was revolutionary in simplicity: tear out the entire tax code, root and branch, and replace it with a single low flat tax on all income. Just imagine a world where you can file your taxes on a form the size of a postcard. No more shoeboxes or receipts, no more weeks of anxiety, no more loopholes, deductions, or special favors, just a simple formula: your income minus a big personal exemption times one low rate. That's it. You're done in minutes. It's a flat tax. It's built on 3 pillars: simplicity, fairness, and growth. First, simplicity. We've seen how complexity is used as a weapon by the well-connected. A flat tax ends that overnight. By replacing the jungle of the tax code with a single rate and minimal deductions, it's like replacing a 1,000-page legal document with a 1-page agreement written in plain English. All right, this is it. I mean, this has been something this isn't something new. People have been arguing for this for a while. Even a lot of the people on the left, some people on the left and a lot of people on the right have been asking for this for years. They tried to get Trump to go for a flat tax like this during his first term and push for it. They tried to get him to push for it this time. So this isn't something new that it's just like came up out of nowhere. People have been trying to push for these for a long time. All right. So it makes the system honest and easy for everyone to understand. All right. This would free up billions of dollars and countless hours we are currently waste on tax prep, putting that time and money to productive use. Second, and this is where people get confused, it is definition of fairness. The flat tax redefines fairness not as punitive, unequal rates, but as the classic American principle of one rule for everybody. Think of it like a store that announces a 20% off sale. That 20% discount applies to everyone, whether you're buying a $10 t-shirt or a $1,000 suit. And that's not the way our system works right now. The way our system works right now is pretty much there's a loophole for everything. And that's one problem with our tax system is people forget that the people who are sitting there and saying, oh, let's increase the tax rate. Let's increase these tax rates. Let's increase this. Well, the problem is when you increase the tax rate, it doesn't hurt the big guy because they're the ones that can afford to ensure that nothing is put in there to affect them. They're the ones that can ensure that. They're the ones that can know that that's not going to happen. It's the people who are not super rich, who have small businesses. They're the ones who get screwed over in this system. They're the ones who get hurt the worst. So we've got to stop worrying about everything else and do it the way we get it, where everybody's fair and it actually helps people, instead of trying to keep it all one way to a way that helps nobody. All right, that's what we've got to get it to. So, it's simple as that. Now, of course, the person buying the suit saves more money, but the rule is the same for both. Everyone from the CEO to the janitor pays the same percentage of their income above a certain amount. No special treatment, no lobbyist-created loopholes. The rigged game is over, which is obvious why it's so hard to get done. And crucially, every serious flat tax proposal includes a large personal exemption. This is the most important and misunderstood part. Let's call it a zero tax zone. A family of 4 might not pay a single dime of tax on their first 30, 40, or even 50,000 of income. This immediately lifts millions of the poorest households off the tax rolls completely. All right, it ensures the system protects low-income families and isn't regressive. Above that exemption, the single rate kicks in. This means the system is still progressive in its effect that wealthy pay a much larger amount of tax, but it does it without the toxic anti-growth effects of high rates. The third and most important pillar is growth. This is the core of the whole argument. And I want to go back before I finish this part. I want to go back to what I was saying a minute ago is, okay, think about it right now is, okay, maybe the rich, you want to get them to increase the tax rate to, let's say, 38%. The problem is they won't pay 38%. By the time they get all, the billionaires won't, they'll get all the loopholes. They might pay nothing or pay 10, 12%. Where the smaller company who can't afford an attorney to get all those loopholes pays the 38%, and they're forced to sell to the bigger billionaire corporation. All right, so that's where the flat tax system helps versus this progressive system we have now. Now, this is how the flat tax it helps support by setting one low, predictable rate on all economic activity. The flat tax completely changes the incentives to work, save, and invest. It removes the penalty on success. And we're supposed to be a country that promotes success, not penalizes it. The entrepreneur thinking about a risky new business no longer has to fear a punishing high rate if she succeeds. The factory worker thinking about taking on overtime doesn't have to worry about being pushed into a higher tax bracket that eats up his extra or her extra pay. Now, obviously, we put that, this bill did something to help with that. We put in the no tax on overtime up to the first $12,500 per individual, $25,000 per couple, and that's over your normal deduction. So that's on top of your normal deduction for your overtime pay itself. So that's a little help, but if we do the flat tax, you don't have to worry about it at all. I mean, the flat tax sends a powerful signal across the whole country. Create value, take risk, build things, and you will share in the reward. You won't be punished for it. This is the secret, that the best way to generate wealth for a society is not to dream up new ways to confiscate it, but to create the most powerful incentives to produce it in the first place. Because that's what people are going to have is the people who are super rich, if you don't charge them for, but even some of the other countries like in the Scandinavian countries, they have a flat, if no rate, up to like 1.5 times the average income. And then once you get over the average median income, 1.5 times of the average median income, then you pay a higher rate. But anything under that, you pay a slower rate or nothing at all. So we're one of the only countries in the world that's not doing it. So as we come to the end of our second segment, I'd like to remind you to please like, comment, follow, or hit the subscribe button so you won't miss future episodes. Also, I will now take any questions, reply to a few comments before starting the next segment. Please don't forget to check out Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. That is Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. You can sign up for free access to our weekly blog, receive notifications about our next live show, and hit the subscribe button, which takes you to our locals community. There you can support the show, gain access to extra content, and participate in one-on-one discussions. So, let's see. We got nobody on Facebook. We got 3 in Rumble or 2 in Rumble, and then I don't see anybody in there. All right. Double check something here before we, I got to edit this real quick. Nobody's on Facebook because why won't it let me edit that while I'm live? That is weird. I guess I can't edit it on here. I was trying to, it won't let me edit it while I'm live. That's ridiculous. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get on to segment 3, Unleashing the Economic Engine. So to really grasp the power of a flat tax, we need to pop up the hood and look at the economic engine. How can such a simple change unleash so much prosperity? It works in 4 key ways: by unleashing investment, boosting compliance, ending economic distortions, and creating jobs. First, let's talk about investment. The Hall-Rabushka model, the blueprint for most flat taxes, does something revolutionary. It allows business to immediately write off 100% of their investments. This is a game changer. Think of it this way. Imagine you're a farmer under thing that President Trump has actually added into the system. So a couple of these actual tax changes that he added with his first during his first term, and this new tax bill that has come up is actually taken from these flat tax model. Some of the deductions that he's put in there is actually part of the flat tax system. Now, it's slow and complicated. Under a flat tax, it's like the government says, that new tractor you bought to make your farm more productive, take the full cost of it off of your taxes right now. What would a farmer do? They'd buy the new tractor, the better seeds, the modern irrigation system. They'd expand their farm. That expansion means they need to hire more people to help plant and harvest. This one change makes it dramatically cheaper to invest in new tools, new technology, and new American factories. And that's why this was just batted back on the tax cut this time. But at the same time, the flat tax ends the double taxation of savings. Our current system is fundamentally absurd. Imagine you bake a cake, the government shows up and takes a slice. That's the corporate income tax. Then you take what's left of your cake and you give a piece to your friend who helped you buy the ingredients. That's a dividend to a shareholder, or capital gains tax. The government shows up again and takes another slice from that same piece of cake. It's a huge penalty on the simple act of investing in American companies. The flat tax is designed to tax every dollar of income once. That's it. This makes saving and investing far more attractive than being triple and quadruple taxed. That's why when people sit there and go, oh, the corporate tax is only blah, blah, blah percentage. No, that's not the actually realized taxable rate, because you got to add in the payroll taxes and income taxes and tax on investments and stuff like that. You got to look at capital gains taxes when their actual taxable rate is a whole lot higher percentage than what it looks like. But then still get to back in today's current system, they can write off deductions for almost every single one of those and gets them lower. So proponents argue this would unleash a tidal wave of new investments. Capital that's hiding on the sidelines or locked up in useless tax shelters would pour into the productive economy. That means more modern factories, better technology, and higher worker productivity, which is the ultimate driver of higher wages, which just in the couple things I've mentioned from this flat tax system that President Trump implemented in his first term and that he's done this time has done what it says a flat tax would do. So think of if we took the changes President Trump has already made and then went to a complete flat tax, how much more our economy would grow. Plus, the actual income that the country is bringing in would be a whole lot higher, because all these billionaires out here who pay 0% taxes or 4 or 5% taxes would now all be paying 10 or 13% tax rate. Anybody that's under $50,000 a year or $70,000 a year for family of four or whatever would be paying no federal income taxes at all. So instead of them having to pay 1, 2, or 3%, they would pay nothing at all. Everybody else that's above that poverty level would be paying 10 or 13% of their income. It's still, billionaires would still pay a whole lot more because they're paying 10 to 13% of $1 billion versus 10 to 13% of $150,000, $200,000. So they're still paying more, maybe not as far as a percentage of their total wages, but they're still paying a whole lot more dollar amount wise. Okay, the second channel is the tax compliance. Our current system, with its complexity and high rates, is an engraved innovation to cheat. The flat tax changes the entire dynamic. It's like the difference between a parking meter that costs 25 cents and one that costs $50. For 25 cents, you just pay it. It's not worth the hassle or the risk to otherwise. For $50, you might spend 20 minutes circling around the block looking for a free spot, or you might just risk the ticket. When the rules are simple and the rate is low, the incentive to cheat collapses. Honesty becomes the easiest choice. When it's not the easiest choice. The third channel is ending economic distortions. Our tax code is a minefield that pushes people to make decisions for tax reasons, not economic ones. It rewards you for taking on debt to buy a house or putting money into some politically favored green investment instead of the one that might actually be most productive. All right, a clean, simple, flat tax wipes all that garbage away. Capital flows to where it's most productive and where the tax code tells it to go. The economy becomes more rational and efficient overall. It's just way over better for the economy, period. Finally, all this leads to the most important result: more jobs and higher wages. The boom in investment means businesses are expanding and new businesses are starting. That means more jobs, but it's not just the number of jobs, it's the quality. When businesses are competing with each other for workers in a high-growth economy, they have no choice but to offer higher wages and better benefits, more time off. When new investments make each worker more productive, that added value has to be shared with the worker in the form of better pay. This is how a flat tax attacks poverty at its root. Not with a government check, but by creating an economic environment so rich with opportunity that poverty itself shrinks on its own. Now, as we come to the end of our third segment, I would like to remind you to please like, comment, follow, or hit that subscribe button so you won't miss future episodes. Also, we'll now take any questions, reply to a few comments before starting the next segment. Please don't forget to check out our website at patriotscornerwithdrhillaw.com. That is patriotscornerwithdrhillaw.com, no spaces. And you can sign up for free to access our weekly blog, receive notifications about our next live show, and hit that subscribe button, which takes you to our locals community. There you can support the show, gain access to extra content, and participate in one-on-one discussions. I will definitely, for the next at least a month, be doing this the same days every week, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. I might try to throw in an extra day or two during the week just to see if any of the other days do better as far as the amount of people that I get on it live or during the time I'm on there. But because I don't have any more classes till August now, so it's a little easier to keep set up. Sundays and Wednesdays, I'll be doing the show around 5 or 6 o'clock Central Time. Just depends on what my days are going like that Sunday or that Monday or that Sunday or Wednesday. Fridays will probably be around 7:30 ish Central Time, and then I'm going to try a Tuesday or Thursday in there for right now, but we'll see. And then here at the end, I'm going to kind of go over a couple other things that I probably should have done on another live once I've got everything going. But let me get a drink here, and then we'll get going to section 4. I don't know if anybody's on here that's watched my live before. Let me know what the difference looks like with the camera. I've got it kind of pushed back a little further, trying to get more room, see if it looks better and gets a better focus in the picture. So, and then section 4, the global experiment and the American case. All right. This all sounds great in a textbook, but has anyone actually had the courage to try it in the real world? The answer is a resounding yes. While a major Western economy like the U.S. has yet to adopt a pure flat tax, a reform wave swept across the nations of the former Soviet bloc starting in the 1990s. These countries digging out from the rubble of communism had a chance to start over. Many of them chose the radical simplicity of the flat tax. The pioneer was a small nation of Estonia in 1994. They brought in a single 26% flat tax. The result was remarkable. The country, once a Soviet basket case, became known as the Baltic Tiger. It attracted a flood of foreign investment, unemployment fell, and the government's budget went into surplus. Today, the Tax Foundation consistently ranks Estonia's tax system as the most competitive in the developed world. More competitive than the United States tax system. Seeing Estonia's success, its neighbors, Latvia and Lithuania, followed suit. But the biggest test came in 2001 when Russia, a global superpower, threw out its corrupt Soviet-style tax system and replaced it with a simple 13% flat tax. It's pretty sad when a country that we claim is run by a dictator goes to a flat tax, but America can't. Every other country in the most European worlds have gone to a flat tax. Even a dictatorship country of Russia that run by somewhere like Vladimir Putin can even implement a flat tax. I mean, at the time, the Russian economy was in crisis and tax evasion was the national sport. Experts were skeptical. The effect was immediate. In the first year, real income tax revenues adjusted for inflation shot up by over 25%. The Russian economy boomed for years after. I mean, think of that. I mean, we're pretty well known for tax evasion and tax. It's pretty much become a national sport in America. And think, if in Russia, which is Western European countries that's bigger than Texas itself, it shot up by over 25%. Think of something the size of the United States, how much real income tax revenues would jump up adjusted for inflation. It'd be over 25%. All right. Now we have to be fair. Critics correctly point out that you can't give the flat tax 100% of the credit. Think of it this way. These countries were like broken down cars getting a complete overhaul. They were getting new tires, a new transmission, and a new driver all at once. The flat tax was like dropping a turbocharger into the engine. You can't give the turbocharger all the credit for the car's newfound speed, but it's impossible to deny it was a major, powerful component of the transformation. The consistency of the results across so many countries is hard to dismiss. It's not like this is one country. This is multiple countries. This real world evidence allows us to tackle the big criticisms head on. The first is the emotional one, that the flat tax is a regressive giveaway to the rich. This is a powerful talking point, but is based on misrepresenting the plan. Thanks to the large zero tax zone, low income families are taken off the tax rolls entirely. The middle class also gets the large exemption. And the rich, what happens with them? Yes, their top tax rate goes down, but, and this is the part critics ignore, all their special lobby created loopholes vanish. We're taking away their map to the holes in the Swiss cheese. They would pay the low flat rate on a much broader chunk of their income. The result is that the wealthy would still pay a far greater amount of tax and a far greater percentage of their total income than they are anyone else's and than they are currently. The second criticism is that it would blow a hole in the budget. This is a serious concern, but it relies on an accounting gimmick called static scoring. The method pretends that the changing tax rates has zero effect on people's behavior, which is untrue. We saw it in 2017. We'll see it again this time. It's like a shop owner assuming that if they had a 50% off sale, they'll make exactly half the money. It completely ignores the fact that a huge sale will bring in droves of new customers who wouldn't have shopped there otherwise. Why do you think people do these sales? Because they know that you'll go in there for the 50% off sale, but you'll buy a whole bunch of other crap that's not on sale because you figured, oh, well, I'll save money on this. I can get this other stuff, even though you didn't need it. Now you spent more money you would have in the beginning. It's the psychological effect of it. It works in taxing too. Dynamic scoring, which is just a more realistic way of looking at things, under economy grows. All right. Has nothing to do with the other. A larger economic pie generates more tax revenue, even with a lower rate. The experience in many flat tax countries shows this is a very real possibility. The goal isn't to starve the government, but to fund it in a smarter way that doesn't kill the economy, that pays the bills. So as we're coming to the end of the show, I'd like to remind you to please like, comment, follow, or hit the subscribe button so you won't miss future episodes. Also, I will now take any questions and reply to a few comments before starting the next segment. Please check out our website at Patriots Corner with drhill.com. That's Patriots Corner with drhill.com to sign up to get free access to our weekly blog, receive notifications about our next live show, and hit the subscribe button, which takes you to our local community. There you can support the show, gain access to extra content, and participate in one-on-one discussions. All righty. All right, let's get on here and then. Okay, so we started with a provocative question. What if the secret to helping the poor was to tax everyone at the same low rate? We've seen how our current tax system has become a complex, unfair, and economically destructive monster. It's a rigged game that crushes the middle class, strangles small businesses, and rewards the politically connected, all while choking off the economic growth that is the only real engine of poverty reduction. The flat tax is a radical yet profoundly common sense alternative. It is a system built on simplicity, fairness, and growth by wiping out loopholes that forces everyone to play by the same rules. With a large personal exemption, it protects the vulnerable and lifts millions out of the tax system entirely. And with one low rate, it unleashes the power of American enterprise to create jobs and raise wages. This isn't trickle-down economics. This is bubble-up economics. It's about creating fertile soil where prosperity can grow for everyone from the ground up. This isn't a Republican or Democratic issue. It's an American issue. It's a challenge to think beyond the tired old talking points and ask what kind of system would actually produce the most prosperity for the most people. The flat tax is not a magic wand, but it is a powerful idea whose time has come. Now, what do you think a flat tax could unleash America's economy? Or are the critics right? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you find this valuable, please share this video and let's start a real debate. Because, we've tried increasing the tax levels, all right? Doesn't work. We tried raising taxes, doesn't help any. We've tried lowering taxes, it helps, but it doesn't solve the debt problem because, like people said, the rich people don't hardly pay anything or don't pay anything at all. They're not breaking the law. They're just using every tax loophole. And obviously, it's the super billionaires that can afford to do that because they're the ones that can afford the team of attorneys that can actually understand over 10,000 pages of tax law and case law and all that. They're the ones that can afford the team's attorneys to do that. They can afford to get every loophole that's in there, that they can afford to actually pay lobbyists to lobby for loopholes on the new tax increases. So they're not paying anything. And then, so they really pay nothing. They act like they say they want to pay all these taxes, but they could pay more taxes. They could just take less loopholes. So when these billionaires, who are mostly Democrats, sit there and say, "Oh, I want to pay more taxes. I'll be willing to pay more taxes," no, they won't, because they will always ask for those loopholes in there. They will always lobbyists for the loopholes, and then while the taxes get increased on people who can't afford all of that, and the little guys end up having to sell off their companies to the bigger corporations, and it even makes the income disparity larger. It grows the income disparity because more middle-level companies are having to sell off to major corporations, so you become less individual owners. You have fewer companies owning and maintaining majority of the money. Where if everybody is paying, anybody who makes over 50, 60, 70,000 a year for a family of four is paying 10, 13% in taxes out of their total income, that would, the amount, I don't have all the numbers in front of me. I know it would make a big difference, because the majority of your multi-billionaires do not pay that much of an actual realized tax rate once they take all their deductions. I mean, unless you have some crazy tax person who's not taking their deductions and is actually paying a high percentage, which there's very few that ever do that, because I hear all these ones saying, "Oh, I'd pay more." Well, then pay more. Just don't take your deductions. Pay the total taxes. But they don't, because that's not the truth. They don't care about that. Now, before I get on to the closing, I was wanting to, I guess kind of, it's more for the intro video too, is some people are going, okay, why would I want to listen to you? Why should I listen to you? All right, I didn't go straight to college, come out of all that. Just, I'm not didn't grow up as some privileged white kid and all that stuff. All right, I am not stuck in some little bubble in Texas or a certain area. I came up through hard knocks. I didn't go to get my college degrees till I was in my late 30s, early 40s, until I was in my early to mid 30s when I started throughout all the states in the United States except for Alaska and Hawaii. I've talked to people all over the United States. I drove semis over the road for 12 years, cross country. All right, so I know people. I met the people. I've been all over, and then on top of that, like I said, I didn't just start out easy. I worked my way up to where I'm at. I went to school, was former military, came out of the military, struggled, went through some hard times. Honestly, if you look, I had a single mother, 2 kids, no college degree, but only a high school diploma, working 2 to 3 jobs just to put a roof over our head and food on the table. I started working a part-time job at 14, full-time job at 15. I mean, so I wasn't just some silver spoon-fed person. I'm not some person that's lived in some one little area their whole life and only knows what's around them. I have been all over the United States, talked to people from all different backgrounds, all political persuasions, all different areas, who have grown up everywhere, seen stuff from different views. So I'm not just some person that only has one point, only seeing this from one point of view. I'm seeing this from multiple. I've seen it from multiple different points of views, and have used that knowledge of talking to people throughout the United States, through all over the place, to come to the conclusions that I have, to get to where I'm at today with my viewpoints and all that stuff. So it has nothing to do with the fact that I just grew up in one little town my whole life. I've lived in California, lived out in California for about 6 months when I was 19 or 20, lived in Georgia, lived in Tennessee, mainly Texas, stayed in Florida for a little bit. Like I said, I've been all over the U.S. So that's on top of going back for my bachelor's degree in finance and economics, my MBA with a concentration in project management, and currently getting my doctoral degree in law and policy, which is more on your public policy, lobbying, running for politics side. That is why I know. Listen, all the statistics say I shouldn't have made it to where I'm at. I mean, like I said, single mother, two boys, working 3 to 4 jobs, no college education. Right there says I have a low percentage of even going to college. And then if you account the struggles that I had when I was 18, 19 years old, those times the statistics say I should either be dead and jailed or in prison flipping hamburgers, not where I'm at today. So I pushed on and got to where I'm at by doing certain things, and I can see what got me to where I'm at and what bumps I hit along the way. And that's another way I've formed my views on what I support and what I don't support politically, because unlike a bunch of rich people who go, "Oh, this is how you help the poor," I was actually the poor before I started living comfortably. I'm still not rich, but I'm not poor either. All right, so I've been the poor guy. I've worked up to it. I've seen what helps and what doesn't. And the majority of the stuff that the left, these socialist agendas they're pushing, don't work. Okay, affordable housing, yeah, that's great. But if it's not helping you actually get a leg up in life, if it's not creating a forward for you to progress into some type of job training or an education or something to get out of poverty, then it's literally just there to make you dependent on government. We need to restructure our system where it makes people more independent and less dependent. That's the only way our systems are going to work, because everybody wants to we can do what Scandinavia is doing, or we can do what these. You got to understand, every country in Europe, except for Russia, could be put in, like England. You could fit England inside the state of Texas 3 times over. In other words, these so-called countries that you see doing all these socialist things are literally size of states or smaller than United States, individual states. They're not the size of the United States. When you take that many different people, that many different backgrounds, that much different economic areas, that many different types of economies, and try to put them all together for something else, doesn't work. It just doesn't. Not on that large of a scale. It's hard enough to get it to work on small of a scale as a Scandinavian country or European country, much less a country that's as large as ours, when our country is literally still probably larger than all the European Union countries put together. All right, so that's another thing we've got to look at. So that's why I believe y'all should listen. My show should check it out, is because the perspectives and the viewpoints I'm giving are not just brought from watching news all day and only listening to the Fox News or something. It's not from looking on the computer all day and being it. It's from a life experiences of traveling all over the United States, talking to people from everywhere, growing up in hard situations with a single mother, 2 boys, having to help raise my little brother, having to work full time, all that stuff. That's what helped me form the views that I have and form the policy beliefs that I have, is based on actually living it, versus somebody who was like Jasmine Crockett, who literally grew up in a rich family, went to a rich private school, went to a elite university, and now she's trying to act like she's from the hood and she knows what's good for the hood. She don't know shit. I know more what's good for the hood than she does, and I'm not from the hood. But I'm still from a poor city, a poor area. I still grew up in poverty. She didn't. I'm sorry, but rich people have no idea what to do with impoverished, or what's best for impoverished people, because they've never lived it. If you haven't lived it, you don't know. So that was my kind of last little rant, because I need to get an intro video for my page anyway, so I can cut that out. But please join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening. Like I said, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like I said, Sunday and Sunday and Wednesdays, the times will probably be around between 5 and 6 p.m. Central. Fridays will be around 7:30 Central time. And then like I said, this next couple weeks, I'm going to try to do maybe an extra show or 2 during the week, just to get it out there until my classes start back up. And then also, please subscribe or follow and sign up on our website at Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. That is Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com, to receive notifications every time we go live. Each episode will be available live on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitch, and Facebook. If you can't catch it live, you can watch it or listen to it on Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. So thank you very much for stopping by to listen.